I would like to welcome you to part 2 of the HBCU Community Empowerment Series. We will be discussing any and everything business and finance. I do not want to hold back and keep anybody from talking about anything that's affecting us now in these current climates. I would like to congratulate everyone also for joining this webinar. We have some of the most powerful people in their professions and just most powerful people, period. I like to tell everybody we are giving out free game. You have to take advantage. I don't think you can find this anywhere else without a hefty price. We have about an hour and a half to 2 hours for this webinar. Everybody on this call, some have actually written books, but they have a million books that could be written with the knowledge that they have to give. So let's get some good questions together. I congratulate you again for joining. But now I would like to hand it over to our host, Ms. Tangela Mitchell. She is our current Miss Hall of Fame. And I'm going to give you a brief rundown of Ms. Mitchell. We had to write this out because she has an illustrious name here. So we have Ms. Tangela Mitchell, a published poet, journalist, and performer, is a graduating senior, political science major, Spanish and creative writing double minor, at Spelman College, and she is from Fayetteville, North Carolina. She has always been active on campus, serving as first-year class president, a 3-year Spelman College student ambassador, and a study abroad ambassador. Most recently, she served as Miss Spelman College 2019-2020, and she serves as Miss National Black College Alumni Hall of Fame Foundation, Miss HBCU, for the 2019-2020 year. As Miss Hall of Fame, Tangela serves as an ambassador for the nonprofit organization to bring awareness to the significance of HBCUs, serve the community surrounding them, and advocate for HBCU students. In late 2019, she spearheaded the Hometown Tour, where she visited local high schools in Fayetteville, North Carolina, to talk to students about college readiness, HBCUs, and how to fund their college education. Upon graduation, Tangela will be pursuing her Master's of Fine Arts in Creative Writing with a concentration in poetry. That's a lot, and she will accomplish a lot more. Let me introduce to you Ms. Tangela Mitchell.
Hello, everyone. It is an honor to be here. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm very honored to serve as Miss National Black College Alumni Hall of Fame. I'm honored to be the moderator of this amazing panel, just filled of heavy hitters, filled of gems, just ready to be dropped. I'm excited. I'm taking notes myself, along with all of us as we're viewing. So we're not gonna hold back any longer. We're just gonna go ahead and jump right into these introductions. I'm going to introduce each panelist. And after they are introduced, each of you will have the opportunity to, tag in and greet the audience, say whatever else that you want to say about yourself and about what you hope to accomplish here tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. So first we have Mr. John Hope Bryant. Mr. John Hope Bryant is an American entrepreneur, author, philanthropist, and prominent thought leader on financial inclusion, economic empowerment, and financial dignity. For the past 2 consecutive years, Bryant has been named the 100 most influential Atlanteans, and Operation Hope is acknowledged as one of Atlanta's 75 largest nonprofit organizations. Bryant is the founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Operation Hope Incorporated, the largest not-for-profit and best-in-class provider of financial literacy, financial inclusion, and economic empowerment tools and services. Bryant is the author of bestsellers The Memo, 5 Rules for Your Economic Liberation, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Rebuilding the Path to the Middle Class, and Love Leadership. He is one of the only best-selling authors on economics and business leadership in the world today who happens to be African American. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. John Hope Bryant.
Honored to join you. Honored to be with the great Bill Picard and Dr. George French and Dr. Kenneth Harris. They're and honorary Dr. Leona Barr-Davenport. They are real doctors. They are PhDs. I'm a PhD.
My man.
That's
with
in
a lot of
the book.
with a lot of money. With a lot of money.
Thank you so much. So next we have Dr. George French, excuse me. Dr. George T. French Jr. is the 5th president of Clark Atlanta University and past president of Miles College. A native of Louisville, Kentucky, Dr. French earned a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science with an emphasis in policy analysis from the University of Louisville. He accomplished his final year of law school at Miles Law School, earning a Juris Doctorate. Dr. French received his PhD in higher education from Jackson State University. Dr. French is a member of the Birmingham Business Alliance's Executive Committee and Birmingham Museum of Art's Board of Directors. In 2015, Dr. French co-founded Higher Education Leader Foundation to help prepare highly skilled talent for positions of leadership at historically Black colleges and universities. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. George French.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. And like my colleague, Dr. John Hope Bryan, I am honored to be amongst such a distinguished and august group of panelists. I will say to John Hope Bryan, thank you for doing what you do. You know, some of us talk about it, but when I open
Don't worry, fellas. He just went out and he's talking about me. Not to worry.
Seems that we're having a few technical difficulties.
No, Dr. Pickard cut him off.
Did he cut me off? Dr. Picard, thank you, my brother. Listen, John, Dr. Picard came and turned our business school out recently with our students, and his education, his historic knowledge was so blessing to us. So I just want to thank before my connection, and I'm traveling actually from Atlanta to Birmingham now, so please forgive me. But thank you, Tommy Doors III, and for your father for what you do for Clark.
You might have to put the mic to your mouth as you're talking. We all know you're cool and everything, but we want everybody to hear everything you're saying. Might have to pull it up.
Thank you so much, Dr. French. So
he's coming from the White House with that HBCU money.
That's good.
That's great.
I'm done if I'm still on.
So we're gonna keep the ball rolling here. Next, we have Dr. Kenneth L. Harris. Dr. Kenneth L. Harris is known for his innovative style and visionary approach to addressing societal and economic challenges within Black and Brown communities. Born and raised in Detroit, Dr. Harris started the International Detroit Black Expo Incorporated, IDBE, which reached 300,000 consumers, becoming one of the largest expositions in the entire country in 5 years. The Honorable Dr. Harris was also elected to the Detroit Charter Commission and served as the president and CEO of Michigan Black Chamber of Commerce. He became the 12th president and CEO of the National Business League Incorporated, encompassing more than 150,000 members and 365 local leagues, with access to 2.9 million Black-owned businesses across the country. Dr. Kenneth L. Harris received his undergraduate degree from Clark Atlanta University. He has received several additional degrees and specialties, along with a dual PhD at Michigan State University in African American and African Studies and Economics, with a specialization in business and entrepreneurship from the Eli Broad School of Business. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Kenneth L. Harris.
CAU.
We love the AUC connection.
No doubt.
Okay, keeping the ball rolling, we have next Miss Leona Barr-Davenport. Benedict College and Clark Atlanta University graduate Leona Barr-Davenport has helmed the Atlanta Business League as its chief executive officer and president since 1997. It takes a far-sighted and dedicated leader to keep a 100-year-old organization relevant in the 21st century. Leona has been able to do so because she is an outstanding and respected decision maker in Atlanta, Georgia, who sees coalition building as the key method needed to advance the ABL's mission. Leona moved easily from office staff to CEO by utilizing years of fundraising, program development, organizational management, and customer service experience. She became the epitome of velvet authority and developed a wide network of support because she spent a great deal of her professional life volunteering. She has been a board member for more than 8 separate groups and has served as a volunteer for nearly 20 nonprofit organizations, including the Atlanta Red Cross and United Way of Metro Atlanta. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Leona Barr-Davenport.
Leona.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Tangela, for the introduction. And thank you, Thomas Dortch III and Thomas Dortch Jr. for this introduction. And it is indeed my pleasure to be on this panel tonight, along with Dr. William Picard, John Hope Bryant, Dr. Ken Harris, and President French from Clark Atlanta University. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. So last and certainly not least, we have Dr. William Picard. Dr. William Picard, who is a proven entrepreneur, philanthropist, and frequent lecturer at historically Black colleges and universities, is chairman of Global Automotive Alliance, co-managing partner, MGM Grand Detroit Casino, CEO, Bearwood Management Company, and co-owner of 5 African-American newspapers. Among other immersions in businesses, he is the vice chairman of the National Black College Alumni Hall of Fame. Picard's 45-year entrepreneurial career began as a McDonald's franchise in Detroit. Dr. Picard's book, Millionaire Moves: 7 Principles of Entrepreneurship, is a down-to-earth, relevant, and riveting glimpse into the professional journey of one of the country's most successful Black businessmen that will share his undeniable principles anyone can use to become a successful entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. William Picard.
Thank you very much. You have a very distinguished group of men and that outstanding lady and Lady Mitchell. Thank you very much. I was sitting here, Brother French, really feeling almost insignificant for a moment with all you high-powered brothers and sisters Davenport. And then I thought about it for a moment.
Everybody watch your wallet, grab it.
For a moment, I thought about it. And Lady Mitchell, I concluded very hurriedly, I'm the only one on this panel who is a certified professional social worker. Then I said, well, let me go further.
And filthy rich.
The only one on this panel has a degree in hamburgerology from the McDonald's Hamburger University. So I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. With my uncle, Dr. Picard, with my uncle John French, right? At Hamburger University.
The John French.
Yes, sir.
We're definitely excited to see how those different expertise come into play here in tonight's panel. So going ahead, again, not holding back, we're going to jump right into it, folks. The first question stems on how COVID-19 is affecting aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners right now. A lot of people are curious to know, is now the best time to start a business? Is now the time to pause any of their business aspirations? How should people who want to be successful and who want to be entrepreneurs with businesses that last, how should they be most effectively using this time, this quarantine, to their advantage and to the advantage of their business? And that's for anyone to take.
Well, may I make a couple of comments? I think it's a great time for anyone that's interested in starting a business to go ahead and do that. Begin your research, do all that you need to do to prepare for after the pandemic for a number of reasons. There are going to be opportunities that will occur, will come out of the pandemic that we will see that will be needed products and services that will someone needs to produce. I'll give you a great example. Many people across the country know Bronner Brothers for their hair care, their magazine, and the different products and services that they provide. Well, they pivoted and they've added to their product line. And right now they are producing, in addition to all of their other products, they're producing hand sanitizer. And I like to break it down even lower and this is my explanation. They went out, they purchased another pot in addition to the other pots that they were making the hair care products in. And they came up with their own recipe. And now they are providing hand sanitizer, not only in Metro Atlanta, but across the country. Very proud of the work that they are doing. So that's just one example of a company that's already in business, expanding their product line. But there are other opportunities just like that for others who are not in business yet.
Leona, you know, you've heard me say this before. America's going to be on discount on the other side of this crisis. And my billionaire and millionaire friends are already buying right now. They're buying on the dip. Mm-hmm. Anybody who has a 401k plan, that market drop probably scared you straight. If you were smoking marijuana, you stopped. If you were drinking, you stopped. That stock market shocked everybody straight. But then the first thing you want to do is sell everything. No, stop it. Unless that's your rent money, okay, leave it where it is, because there's going to be a recovery. God willing, the creek don't rise. We get on the other side of this, you're going to see a recovery. And just ignore it. Just ignore it. And if you can, buy on the dip. Because if you had bought Facebook 2 months ago, you just made 30%. Okay. And real estate's going to be on discount. You're going to have major companies. Think about Macy's shutting their doors, Neiman Marcus shutting their doors, Gap thinks they're maybe out of cash. Imagine the divisions that they've got. Mm-hmm. Bill Picard. Imagine the divisions they're going to have to shed. Some of these folks have very healthy divisions of their company that are very healthy, but the primary company might be in a troubled business. They have to shed that stuff. Whoever is sitting around with a decent credit score, a little bit of cash, a lot of energy, and a positive attitude, can pick it up. And it goes on and on and on. I have grown all of my enterprises in 90 days. Everything I've touched is doing like this. Because it's a mindset, but too many of us are focused on a surviving mindset, not a thriving mindset. And we've almost got PTSD as a race because of all the crappy stuff that's happened to us. And it's just a cruel irony. It's like a black swan, like everything bad has happened to us and continues to. But we got to turn this storm into a rainbow. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. Yes. This is an opportunity. Yes.
I'd just like to add on top of that, I think Leona and John, leading into the caveat that, entrepreneur mindsets that are created like at universities like Clark Atlanta, this is not a time period to be sitting back and relaxing. We missed the agricultural revolution because we were picking the cotton. A few of us, individuals or marginalized success, came from the Industrial Revolution. We realized that civil rights had no economic rights attached to it. And some of us received affirmative half action. And so when we look at 50 years later, we see that the pentacle and core to our livelihood and quality of life is entrepreneurship, is economic empowerment. And that should be at the center and thrust of everything that we do. And so as I would say, just going forward, is that the revolution will not be televised. It will be digitized. And so this is a unique opportunity, especially for college students who are interested in owning their own, going into business for themselves. Put your idea in place, and this is the time to make it happen.
And I agree with you 100%. It looks like and I'm in the car, so I'm going to be very brief. John Hope Bryant let me know that I need to speak louder, and I do apologize, colleagues. My daughter's graduating in Birmingham today, and normally I would have jumped on a plane.
Absolutely.
I think we may be having some trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up for that.
So, my brother, I'm not. Go ahead, Dr. Carr, please.
I was gonna say, you know, in the Japanese language, the symbol for crisis is the very same symbol for opportunity.
That's correct.
And as everyone has said, out of this very, very tragic situation would come many, many opportunities. And I think that young African-American men and women especially, young doesn't necessarily mean age, it also means the thought process.
That's right.
There are gonna be a lot of opportunities. And as I said earlier when we were just sitting around chatting, if we can take some of our oneness and our very small business, our mom and pops, and if we can find some like-minded people at this magic moment to come together, to work together, to pray together, and to sweat together, and create something of scale, that is going to enhance all of our opportunities to do more and to be more, and also to provide more jobs for our community. So I think this is a magic moment for opportunities.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And going into that, Dr. Harris, I know you spoke to the importance of whether you are an aspiring entrepreneur, students, that, you know, taking this opportunity and moving with that urgency, and putting their hands to work, that this is not a moment of relaxation. This is not a vacation. It's not time off. This is the time to get ahead. If that's what you claim to say that you want, this is the time to really put that legwork in. And so to that point, what can those people who already have businesses and who have seen and are witnessing some of their other contemporaries fall into the cracks, how can they move in a manner that protects their business in the future, and that they can make it through the dip and survive to see the other side? What does that look like for them?
Well, I always keep it plain, and thank you for that question, Ms. Spelman College. At Clark Atlanta University, we like to say you either find a way or make one. And so I've always had that mindset in anything that we've done, and we've embedded that into our mission, vision, and purpose and model. But more important, we have to be real with our current situation. The cavalry is not coming. The white man on the shiny horse is not going to show up to your doorstep with a bag of cash. So this is going to have to be a time period where we're not doing business, but we're doing business, and we're learning the mechanics of success. Entrepreneurship success is not a difficult formula. This is not physics. This is not economics. It's a process. It's basics. And when you learn the fundamentals to that process, and you have drive, and you have conviction, and you have that character which has been instilled in most AUC students and HBCU students, that drive to be successful, you're going to make some successes. You're going to make some failures. Even in those failures are not failures because they become lessons. And in those lessons, eventually you cultivate a very, very successful and prosperous opportunity. And so for all the students that are out there who have an entrepreneurial mindset, who studied under people like Dr. Dennis Kimbrough over at the Clark Atlanta University Business School, he's going to tell you is that this is the moment that you go get it. And you can't just be a normal entrepreneur anymore. It's not just about the green anymore. You have to have your mind right, your body right, your soul right, and your spirit. So we're looking at also holistic entrepreneurship, where people now, if you don't take care of your body, I'm a proud yogi. I do yoga every morning. I'm a proud 5-year vegan, plant-based diet. I know that this effectuates my ability to perform, at a high level. And so the new age entrepreneur has to be more than just a businessman or woman. This person has to really encompass a holistic view towards success. And I think this generation is going to really, really return Black people to their original place in civilization. That's where I think we're going.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Ms. Barr-Davenport, I know Dr. Pickard said something very particularly important about that oneness and about unity, and about if we're really going to cross this sea together, it's going to be found in us creating those types of relationships. And I know as someone who is passionate about coalition building and about that being the key to true success, I'm curious to know, what have you heard in terms of these small business owners who are affected, who survive on a day-to-day cash flow type of situation and are now the most vulnerable? What have you heard that these local and small businesses are experiencing? And how can we, in the idea of oneness, how can we really impact and help those types of business owners during this time?
Sure. Thank you, Tangela, for that question. I'll start with what the Atlanta Business League is already doing on a weekly basis. And we began this the last week of March. We host a webinar with our members and the greater community to talk about issues and opportunities that are available to them. We bring specialists in to have conversations around that. And one of the things I've learned over the years with the Atlanta Business League is it's important for us to bring successful business owners, knowledgeable professionals in the industry to our membership to hear their stories and to share their experiences. And it's very interesting on here today, we've already heard from John Bryant. We've heard from Thomas W. George Jr. We haven't brought Dr. French, but we will. We will bring Dr. Pickard. I know that that will be possible, and we'll bring Dr. Ken Harris. And the importance of that is for the business owners to hear what's happening in the marketplace. How are others making it? That's very important. I shared the story earlier about the Bronner brothers, but we have a member right now who was in the midst of renegotiating her contract for her business, where her business is being housed. And for whatever reason, she said she decided not to sign with where she currently is. She was going to move to another location. And she just had not signed on the bottom line. And here comes COVID. And as a result of COVID, she has made the decision that she's not going to sign a contract for a year. They're going to work from their homes, and because the business is sales, they're going to work from their home for a year to see how the market works out, how the sales work out. And at the end of that year, they'll make a decision on next steps. And see, our members need to hear about those kinds of opportunities or the decisions that business owners are making, because those, just hearing someone else's experience or decision could impact another business owner. So again, basically, we provide information, we provide access to specialists, we provide access to successful business owners who are already doing it. And that's our method for making sure that our membership is aware. And the greater business community, I have to say that, typically, we focus strictly on our members. That's what's vital to us. If you come into the fold, we want to make sure that you're successful. But COVID said to us, we can't do that. Right now, everyone's in the same boat, and we've got to help bring everyone out of that deep water together. So that's my initial recommendation, is that we continue to add value to help them think through where they are. At the end of the day, they might decide, this is not for me right now. I may need to downsize. I may need to close my business, or I may need to collaborate and partner. And so we're giving them that opportunity by sharing and constantly feeding the necessary information to them that they need to hear and need to know to help them make informed decisions going forward.
Absolutely. And we want to thank you, of course, for the work that the ABL has been doing for years now, that type of work on behalf of entrepreneurs and business owners.
Thank you.
Very quickly, I would be remiss if we did not acknowledge the joining of our very own Mr. Thomas Dortch Jr., who is here with us. Mr. Dortch, do you have a few words you want to talk to us at all going forward?
Well, I'm just happy to be in with my great giants who are on, who are here to make a difference. And Tangela, I can't say enough about you and your leadership. I am so proud of you, and I am looking forward to a brilliant, brilliant career that you have just waiting for you, and you started there, and your commitment to community. I'm just going to join in as we go. I had to get on a call a few minutes ago because we're trying to make sure people don't forget we're in the midst of a census, and it's all about being counted. If we don't get counted properly, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that won't flow into our community. Our HBCUs won't see those hundreds of billions of dollars. When it's time for reapportionment for elected officials, whether you're looking at congressional or US Senate or those in the local Senate and House districts and county commissioners, if we don't get counted, we're gonna lose out. And if we're counted, the senseless murder, for example, in Brunswick, of a 25-year-old, now 26-year-old young Black man would not happen if we had great and effective and district attorneys who represented all the people. And we got efforts now to try and get them out of office. I have a letter going to the governor here in Georgia asking that all 3 DAs be removed. And that's why it's important when we talk about business and representation. But I wanted to put that out because to all of my young leaders who are on the call and my fellow alumni and supporters of HBCUs, we got to get these DAs out of office. First, the lady did a cover up, the first female DA. It was basically, she had a conflict of interest. She refused to arrest the person because he worked in her office. I mean, and then the next DA refused to intervene, and he said, oh, there's no probable cause. And because his son worked with the McMichael who killed, and I say who killed Aubrey, Ahmaud Aubrey, they murdered Ahmaud Aubrey. And then the third DA had the video for 30 days and said that he wanted to convene a grand jury when, as they always said, Stevie Wonder could see that they murdered that young brother in Brunswick. And so I've written a letter to the US attorney. I was on NPR, and several of us have come together saying enough is enough. And then our sister who was murdered in Kentucky while she slept in her home. And then another young brother's home where they came in, had the wrong address and just kicked in the door. I mean, we got to stop this senselessness. And so what we're doing here today is just one of saying to all of our young leaders, you don't have to wait to lead, you got to lead today, but you got to lead with common sense. Don't, as they say, don't get angry. Put your feet to work. If you're going to be angry, make sure you do something about it. Don't sit around in groups and fuss about it. So I'm happy to join these great leaders who are on. This is my 25th year in business. I own 6 businesses, and thanks to Bill Picard and Kenneth Harris and Leona Barr-Davenport and John Bryant, I get to get enough money to pay my bills. You know, even during the COVID-19, I'm still paying my bills, but I've been inspired by some great giants and Black college grads like Herman Russell, Tuskegee grad, and of course, Jesse Hill, Lincoln University grad. Those great giants paved the way for all of us to be in business. And as you look at, and there's so many others who have made a difference. So with that, I'm just waiting to be a part, and I encourage young people. Entrepreneurship is phenomenal. You'll never be paid what you're worth working for others. But don't go out and quit your job today, because you know being an entrepreneur, starting it up is hard work. You've got to invest your money into the business, get your family with you to invest. But you got to understand, as I learned early on from a great friend of mine who said, pigs get fat, but hogs get slaughtered. So be a pig at the trough with others. Don't try to be a hog and take everything. And the other thing to remember, but money is green. So it's not about Republican or Democrats or independents. It's about business. And the same way you run your business is the same philosophy and the same approach that Coca-Cola started and UPS and all of those. You know, ain't no such thing as a Black business. You can be a Black-owned business, but the principles that it takes to be successful in business with sound accounting, having, again, great employees, having attorneys. I don't do anything without an attorney, but also I over-deliver and understand at the end of the day, take care of my employees first. because your employees take care of you.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Mr.
That
Dortch.
man must have read my book.
Hey, look, millionaire moves.
I was saying earlier, I have my copy signed and everything. So moving forward, you know, of course, there is an undeniable overlap between the moves that the government makes and how it affects the business owners and small business owners in particular. But there's definitely an overlap there. And to that point, Mr. Bryant, I'm curious to know, as we can, you know, understand how quickly Congress acts or doesn't act is definitely a deciding factor in if some businesses survive or not, if their doors are closed for good, temporarily or otherwise. So for those people those businesses whose doors have been closing, is what we seeing the effect of Congress moving slowly or not moving fast enough? What is the effect of the government's inaction or action having on our business owners?
I'm going to surprise you with my response. First of all, like everybody else, I'm really impressed by you, and you're going to just light up the airways and make your family so proud to be so successful. So God bless you. I'm going to surprise you with my answer. I think the Congress and the administration, I can't believe I'm saying this, did a really incredible job. I don't know of another developed country that from crisis to money being approved took 3 weeks. Now, the identification of the crisis was horrible. That was just a disaster. But once we realized we had a crisis on our hands, we stopped being Republicans and Democrats. We started being the American government. And 3 weeks after this was identified, you had $3.5 trillion on the street. Now, it was a crappy program, a crappy website, policies that changed every day. But as I said offline, as I keep saying before, I mean, the federal government stood up the 8th largest bank in America in 2.5 weeks with no business plan, no policies. Of course, it's going to be a crap show. Of course, it's going to be horrible. Ready, fire, aim. But there's money on the other side. And by the way, there's still $100 billion plus sitting in the second tranche of PPP. I want everybody watching this program. If you don't have a business, go create one. I'm only kidding. If you had a business, go get your, not go get your money, go get yo, Y-O, go get your Y-A, go get your money. Stop complaining, stop whining, go get your money. Look, if you have no books and records, you still get 10 grand. You're a nonprofit, you're a church, as they say when I grew up, church, you're a small business, you still get $10,000 with almost no questions asked. Go get your money. And in most cases, you don't have to pay it back. If you have any employees, I'll get to that in a second. So yes, there are reasons for us to be very frustrated, right? But right now we're at about $5 trillion of $4.5 trillion of stimulus. It's going to go to $6 trillion. This is 45 to 50 times more stimulus than any government's ever seen in response to a crisis in the history of the world. Okay, and we did it like that and went right. Even if even my cousin Boo Boo got a check for $1,200. This crisis is different from 2009. I know I'm over answering your question, but just stay with me for a minute. This crisis is different from 2009 because 2009 was a bunch of criminals trying to shove a mortgage down your throat that you shouldn't have had, they shouldn't have sold. This is an act of God. It's different. And the federal government told all of us to shut down. And so they have a responsibility to make sure that shutdown does not unduly harm us. Now, there's more stimulus coming. There's some things I can't say right now that I'm just so excited about what I think is coming. But if half of what I think is coming in the next few weeks, we, Black folks, are going to be very happy with what's on the other side of this as a resource, which didn't exist since the civil rights movement, or at least since the affirmative action campaigns in the 70s and 80s. So rainbows only follow storms. Now, there's another challenge that Leona and I have talked about. It's us. 96% of all Black businesses are single proprietorships with no employees, no books and records, no banking relationship. And I don't mean the bank teller, no accountant, no contract with a payroll firm, no balance sheet, no income and expense statement, no lines of credit, no credit score worthy of repeating. And so how are you going to grow with that? You're not a business, you're a self-employment project. So let me now give you some good news. I'm not going to go back to your original question. Will we be harmed? Yes, a lot of us will be harmed, but not in the way that the 50-person business with a payroll is going to be harmed who didn't get the PPP. Here's why I mean. I was at Bachelor Young's house in 2009 when the crisis hit then, and his gardener, Black man, I said, "How you doing this crisis, Mr. Joe? You depressed?" He said, "No, I'm not depressed." He said, my rich white friends are depressed. He said, "I was poor before this crisis. I'm gonna be poor after this crisis." Everybody else trying to jump off of a building. I'm good. I'm just where I was before. Now I see my opportunity to scale up because my competitors are going out of business. My competitors are restructuring. They're trying to figure out how to get rid of 50 people. I'm trying to figure out how to get 2 or 3 more on my payroll. He saw this opportunity to grow. Last point. Someone from your generation, I'm sure nobody you hang around, by the way. This millennial text me. I said, "How you doing in the crisis?" She started rationalizing some stuff. We had a chat back and forth. Quickly, she said, when she realized what's going on, this reset, she said, you know what I need to do? I need to stop drinking and smoking weed. Like right now. I need to go to the gym. I need to eat fruits and vegetables. I need to change my diet. I need to study. I need to read a book 3 days a week that's not a school book. I need to start a business. I mean, it sounds funny, but to me, it was like a prophetic statement. She said, I need to stop partying all the time, me and my friends, and we need to get busy with trying to create a software upgrade on the entire Black race. So I see this as a wake-up call for us. As I think Dr. Harris said, no one's coming to save us, but us, and we can do it.
And Doctor, I would like to chime in on that. This is George French again. I've been in and out because of travel, but thank you, John, for that perspective. And as far as higher education goes, yes, we are taking a hit, but also we are quite fortunate to be at the table with Betsy DeVos, with Congress, to get what was $1 billion. Okay, so we started off at $14 billion for higher ed in general. And then we came back to the table and we were able, with Board of Trustee members like Tommy Dortch, to go back to Congress to get an additional $1 billion, which for Clark Atlanta University, at the end of the day, it's meant $17 million for us. So that's not enough, but it's significant. And it gives us an opportunity to, we've been talking about going online and changing our modality of instruction and delivery for so many years, but we've been moving at a snail's pace. And now we can't move at a snail's pace anymore. We have to go online and we have to do it quickly. So as Bill Picard said, this is a crisis, but yet it's an opportunity. And I feel like, and I'm gonna end this, Clark Atlanta University has just shy of 4,000 students. The same thing that Southern New Hampshire University has is 3,900 students on a 300-acre campus. But with 3,900 students on ground, they have 87,000 online. That's the opportunity. And we have to take advantage of the opportunities to meet our students where they are. If they can't come to Atlanta, I'll meet them in California with an online capacity. And when Clark Atlanta University comes out of this, yes, Doctor, we'll find a way. I'll make one. Dr. Harris said, we are going to be stronger coming out, I guarantee you, than we were going in.
Hey, thank you, Dr. French. I hope you guys, I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know if you can see that email. I just got it right now. This is a Black business owner who did what I said and went to Operation Hope on this PPP. The email said, I just got it. Thank you so much for helping me get a loan. I just got approved for PPP today. You cannot give up. The color is green, folks. It's not black, white, red. The color is green, and you got to be prepared. All they did, because they couldn't get a loan, was follow our instructions, go to Operation Hope, talk to one of my coaches, take a minute, get their documents together, have some patience, and they got their money today.
You go.
Wow. So it's moments like that that just speak to, you know, the power and the potency of what is being said in this panel and during this time that we have together. And I'm so happy that you chimed in, Dr. French, because I was actually coming down your street next. The idea of, you know, college students, specifically HBCU students, with the shift to remote learning. And as we, you know, as the year unfolds, and we're not certain of how long this will be the situation, there are a lot of students who are feeling, whether they feel frustrated, they feel kind of uncertain, and specifically with graduating seniors and recent grads, who we will be recent grads in the coming weeks, dealing with hiring freezes and having, you know, the starting dates of jobs that they had, you know, pushed back on for, you know, indefinitely. What are ways that our institutions and alumni can support students who are dealing with this type of situation, so that we still feel that common thread and that community? We still have this mindset of, you know, if we don't have a way, we're going to make a way, find a way. What can be done so that those bonds are preserved?
So, are you answering and asking me that question?
Yes.
Good, thank you. And I'm going to be so quick because my internet connection is so unstable. First of all, my daughter will be graduating from Spelman with you. That's Jasmine Fritz. So she's coming out this year. My son last year. So we have a special bond. What is it going to take? It's going to take resilience. It's going to take the fact that we have to take advantage of the opportunities that are set before us. Yes, look at the challenges, but that's what John Hope just said about that gardener. That's just what we do. Okay, we find ourselves in these situations of challenge, but that's what we've done since we've been in this country. We were brought here against our will, but yet we are one of the only peoples who have been resilient enough to deal with the situation and to overcome. That's what we do. So what we're going to do is we have contingency planning in place at Clark Atlanta University for what may happen or may not happen in the fall. We know that we will be fully online in the summer. We have some excellent contingency plans in place for the fall, for either starting later, perhaps in the middle of September versus the middle of August. If we have to, we'll go fully online. One of the options, of course, is to bring sophomores on campus because the seniors, come hell or high water, they're going to graduate. Those seniors, if they have to be online for 2 semesters, they will graduate. So they're okay. The juniors are almost in the same situation. So if we have to scale back on bringing individuals on campus, it would be the seniors and the juniors. Freshmen and sophomores would be on campus with social distancing, and we have ability. We have a plan to bring some dormitories back online, like Bumstead Ware, Chairman Trustee Dortch, that were offline, and we're putting together a $20 million proposal that we're approaching a foundation with right now. Uh-oh, I see Bill Picard, his eyebrows went up. I don't even need a foundation if he just writes me a check. But listen, okay, I saw that, Bill. But we are looking at having a quarantine facility on the campus of Clark Atlanta University that would serve all of our students of the AU Center. So we have some contingency plans in place that are going to be effective, and we're going to deal with this challenge. We're coming out, like I said, on the other side better than we were going in. Watch.
Hey, Dr. French, it just dawned on me, just right there, you just created a business, Leona. You could create a quarantine center, a COVID-19 certified conferencing center at the university that could hold, whatever many people have, teleconferencing equipment, whatever. They have local businesses and whatever come in contact with him and come and do stuff and have an entire process for in, out, and on a sustainable basis. Or at least the other universities and colleges in the network could use them. That's just right off the top of my head. See, we just got to keep our head clean and clear and focused on the future, and not just mired in the mess that is obviously all around us.
That's right. And John, you hit it on the head. And what we're doing is, before the COVID hit, I was looking to go to the market to get $28 million in new market tax credits and other sources of financing. But now what I'm going to be able to do, it looks like, is get these same funds from foundations. And then once COVID is over, my dormitory is still complete and we met a community need at the same time.
Absolutely. And it's that sort of forward-thinking proactivity and flexibility that I think students in particular, it puts our minds at ease to see that in our leaders. So we're very appreciative of you and of that mindset going forward. I just want to take the time to continue to encourage everyone watching at home to continue asking your questions. We have some good ones already, but there's going to be a whole section just dedicated to these amazing panelists answering your questions. So use this time wisely. They are here for you at this moment. So whatever advice you need, we have people in the questions asking for advice if they should open up certain businesses, if they should take that leap, and we're going to get into all that. So I'm very excited to get into that next. But just shifting gears slightly here, Dr. Pickard, with your expertise in the automobile industry, I wanted to ask, since we understand that the only time that customers are physically at dealerships when they are purchasing a new car, especially in light of these shutdowns, are for a test drive or when they're ready to take home that new car. But as dealerships slowly move their stock, and manufacturers will have to make the choice between slowing down production, which invariably will impact factory workers, or they will continue to make new automobiles at the normal rates, even though dealerships aren't equipped to carry them. What is the smartest choice? What should they do? And how does that concept apply to businesses even outside of the automobile industry, and how they have to make those tough decisions?
Okay, it's a good question. Some of the largest purchases that we make in our community typically is our home, hopefully. That is the basis of wealth for most families in America. And even though we know what happened in 08, 09, 010, home ownership is still one of the basic foundations for creating family and intergenerational wealth in America, is to own a home. Be it good or bad, after that comes this automobile. Now, this leads back to something that I hope is happening at most of our HBCUs. It's financial literacy. That credit score that we all have or have to improve, that is critical as you go out to purchase almost anything, but especially an automobile. So I hope, and I will encourage all of us as mentors and mentees, let's talk about credit. Let's talk about how you improve your credit. And people oftentimes ask me about, student debt, which is a big number in many of our lives. But I will say this, in my opinion, one of the few positive debt instruments I know of is student debt. Because in America, whether you like it or not, one of the main things we must do is get on that ladder of improvement and going up in life. And you have some college and you have a degree that oftentimes puts you on that first step or second step of a career. As it pertains to automobiles, ironically, right now, there's a glut of used cars all over America. And again, if you have a decent credit score, this might be one of the best times to purchase an automobile at this moment in our journey. But let's go back to this, how you purchase a car. I would strongly advise you to read Consumer Report, the Blue Book, and all that. Now, I'm not gonna get into our habits because some of our habits are bad when it comes to automobiles. I'm not gonna talk about my cousin who lives in an apartment but drives a brand new Corvette every 3 years. So we're not gonna talk about the negative things that we do with automobiles. But now the economy and the marketplace is moving in such a manner that you can literally buy your car from your computer. There's a new concept called Carvan, where you can literally never walk into a dealership to make a purchase. But no matter how you cut it, an automobile is a major purchase for most of us. Whether you lease or buy and all those many variables, I beg of you to do one thing: get your credit score up. And I think Dr. Bryant and his tremendous zeal in this area of credit worthiness in our community is needed. The churches should do a better job. The HBCUs must do a better job. Our families must do a better job of helping us understand the importance of credit worthiness. So the automobiles will flow. They will broom them out. They will either sell them in America or ship them overseas and get rid of the used car. And then the new cars begin to come out. Now, the good news is that I believe that there are a lot of cars now that you can purchase for less than $25,000 that you should be able to keep for 6 or 7 years. I'm not going to get into this notion that I'll ride, you ride around a $45,000 car and you ain't got $500 in the bank. I'm not going to go there. But that is a part of this education process that we must improve that dynamic in our community. So in my business life, the cars will come off. We'll have to ramp up to the normalcy. We'll start out at making 25% of the cars that we should make every week, every day. But eventually, they will put them in the marketplace. And with advertising and leasing and getting people to buy things they don't need and can't afford, that's going to happen. That's America. That's why you have advertising. That's why you have TVs. And you have this notion that your car represents you. Where in fact, I'll give an example. We all heard about Kmart back in the day. We all heard about S.S. Kresge. This man made $1 zillion in Detroit, but he never bought a new car. He would always buy what we call in Detroit a dealer car that had been used for maybe 5,000 or 8,000 miles. So I want you to buy some cars now because I got to eat. I got to pay my daughter's student loan at Spelman. But at the same time, use reasonable sense. Get your credit score up. And then you can decide whether you buy or lease an automobile. But an automobile should not define who you are and your value. Now, everybody wants a car of a certain kind, but that's okay. When you get ready for that, that's good. But please make good, sound business decisions about what you wear, what you buy, and how you ride. Because we know the negativity of things that have happened in our community about folk riding around in $100,000 cars and still renting. So my thing is very simple. If you have a Land Ranger or a Land Rover, if you have a landlord, you are a landless fool.
Look, Pickard,
yeah.
He said I'm good at all. Let me tell you something. If you drive down the street and you in a Mercedes and it's got 18% interest on it, it's not Mercedes, it's Mercedes payments. So he dropped some pearls, but one of the pearls he dropped, he walked right past it. It's the most brilliant thing this whole session. A student loan is probably the best investment you can make early in your career because it adds another $1 million plus to your earning power over the course of your life. Who's being laid off right now? 40% of everybody in America is an hourly worker, 40%. And the vast majority of those who were laid off in the last 2 months were hourly workers with no advanced degree. These are folks with a high school diploma. So what he's talking about, that was dropping the mic. He also talked about good debt and bad debt. When you finance jewelry, that's a bad debt. You finance that raggedy car at 18% interest, that's bad debt. You finance a home with a good mortgage, that's good debt. You finance a business with contracts, that's good debt. So that we need to understand good debt and bad debt. All the things he just mentioned, brilliant. Last point. There's never been a riot in a 700 credit score neighborhood in all of America's history. It's never happened. White people, black people, orange people, brown people, don't matter. Never, ever, because 700 credit score neighborhoods don't riot, they go shopping. All our problems are in 500 credit score neighborhoods, and we need to stop it because we are just being targeted. Ambassador Young would say, to live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the definition of slavery.
And Tangela, let me weigh in a little bit here too, and that's one of the reasons why Wells Fargo and Georgia Pacific and Merck have hosted, served as sponsors for these webinars for us. Not only do you have to worry about being able to buy a car or lease a car, and that's one of the things that John Bryant does every day is help our communities raise our credit score. When those credit scores get raised and our credit worthiness gets raised, it gives us more freedom in the marketplace. But we also need to understand that these days, they also look at your credit score even to determine if you're going to get a job. And so remember that it's not just about buying a car, it's getting a job. And I know people to be turned down where they came out with some of the highest grade point averages from colleges and universities, but had terrible credit scores. In addition to that, you can't these days rent a condo or rent an apartment to live, much less buy a home or a condo if you have terrible credit ratings and credit scores. Even in business, when you're looking to run your business and you go to a financial institution, again, they look at your credit scores, your credit rating. So we need to understand that while in college, that's where you begin to build your credit worthiness, not only with your student loans and paying them off, or if you're going to be behind, letting people know you're going to be a little bit late, because lending institutions will appreciate you giving them heads up. But the other thing that we do on these legacy lecture tours that we do every year, while we're not doing them on campus right now, we're doing them virtually, is to simply say, build your credit, get you basically a secured card. What that secured card means, if you don't have money in the bank, you don't have nothing to use that card on. Go out and buy something, pay it off before the 30 days come, and continue to do that, because the other double-edged sword is they ask you as a student, well, what is your credit rating? Do you have credit? And you said, no, I'm a student and just getting out of college. That don't work. So you can build credit while in school, but don't go crazy, because we've had to deal with students who get their student financial aid. Mm-hmm. And the next thing they do when they got money left over, they go out and buy something. They buy a car, they buy clothes, buy jewelry, run up credit cards, and they're in so much debt. Mm-hmm. So, and you know, we talked about this.
Tommy,
what?
That's not credit, man. My daddy grew up in South Central. He called that critic. He said his credit was bad. His credit was bad, not his credit.
So to our young professionals and professionals be, just know that carries along with you. As they say, if you file bankruptcy, folks say, well, I'll just file bankruptcy. Hey, it goes more than 7 years. That thing can follow you for life. So just think about how you manage your finances. And then one other piece that's important as we look at professions and those who are going to be graduating, clearly you want to make the biggest salary you can. But people who get more job offers and career offers are those who are already employed. So don't wait and wait and wait, because there may be an opportunity. It may not pay you the 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 you want. But remember, you got to have income to pay your bills and to live. So you got to start somewhere. So don't come out and say, I'm not taking a job until they give me what I'm worth. You got to build your worth, but at the same time, you got to pay your bills. And so we'll be working, even if you do internships, and while you're working to try and get employment, volunteer. Because one of the reasons when I was in college and coming out of college, I went to graduate school, but I volunteered so much. I had so many job offers that I didn't even take them, because I was enjoying graduate school, enjoying working and volunteering. But that's the way you also expand your network. In another area, my son, when he graduated from Florida A&M University, one of the things that he brought to me was some of his classmates who were sharp young brothers and sisters in technology. He said, Dad, you should let them build your website. Let me tell you, these young professionals were much better than some firms were charging thousands and thousands of dollars and were not giving me the creativity. So those of you who are coming out of school and those in school now, get with your colleagues, create your company. Let me tell you, going forward, technology is going to be key for us surviving this COVID-19. So we need you to be prepared to provide the support and technology support. Leona, no, we need it. So all of our businesses are needing that. Social media is critical. We need that. You can go and get certified in coding, opportunities galore in coding. So there's so many opportunities. And then the other thing that America has discovered, we were shipping all these jobs overseas. We can't get PPEs in this country because we're not manufacturing masks in this country. We're not manufacturing uniforms and all. And so now we have shown our weakness, and your president saying, well, I don't want to buy them from China, but they're buying them from India, Vietnam, from China, from Hong Kong, because we don't manufacture in this country the way we used to. These are opportunities that are going to be galore. Create these opportunities. I took industrial science in high school. I didn't want to take typing, which I'm Asian, I'm 70 years old, but Lord knows I wish I would have taken it back then before computers came in, had to learn. So all I'm saying to you, as smart as you young folks are, young professionals, it's supply and demand. And I can tell you now, this nation is going to need more things done in this country. And you need to begin to look at supply and demand and be prepared for those things. And then we'll look at creating some opportunities from our businesses, trying to create at least internships. We'll look at what we can do to kind of help out. But all I'm saying to you, be creative. It's going to be tough going, tougher now than it's been in decades. But you know what? We've been there before.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Dortch. And I feel like that's the perfect, leadway into our question and answer portion of tonight. I feel like everyone on this panel has had a common thread of talking about the importance of financial literacy and the importance on expounding on opportunities as they are presented to you. And so COVID-19 is just another chance to expound on new opportunities. And if we have that mindset, we can move forward and be successful in any circumstance. And so we have some great questions, and a lot of people are very eager to hear you all's opinions on some of their questions. We have Ms. Keontae Lyman, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who is an aspiring law student and graduate of Western Michigan University. She firstly wants to thank everyone for their advice on starting a business. And her question is, if any of you have any ideas on what young people should be investing in. And I know you all touched on that a little bit with the idea of good debt and bad debt that Mr. Bryant brought up, and how student loans, that's something that is so worth investing in and will have a good result in the end. But what are some other things that young people that we can be investing in right now?
Leona, I don't think you talked yet.
You say you don't think I've spoken?
Yeah. I didn't want. I would say something, but I would love.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking for that question. I'm actually going to challenge that question and gear it towards something more positive in a way. We should be investing in ourselves right now. I think sometimes we look to the exterior to gain in ways that don't take us where we need to go to. Right now, for a college student, the best person that you can invest in and best situation you can invest in is yourself. And as they teach us at HBCUs, in my love for HBCUs, this thing is about power, right? And for the first time in history, like I mentioned before, we missed the agricultural revolution, we missed the industrial revolution. We will not miss this entrepreneurial revolution as Black people. Every young person that I talk to, I go into high schools, I go into grade schools, I lecture at colleges all across, not just the United States, all over the globe, throughout the Caribbean, et cetera. When you ask a student what they want to do in life, 98% of them say that they want to own their own business, period. And so we have to go, in terms of basic economics, you have to go where the market demand is. And right now, entrepreneurship is your future. Your grandparents told you to go to school to get a job. Today is to go to school so that you can own your own, so you don't have to be owned by anybody else. And so when we think about that scenario, and even if you're in a career, you can still be entrepreneurship minded. And so while you're getting that experience, you're forming and you're shaping yourselves like HBCUs do. I appreciate being a point guard at Clark Atlanta University. I appreciate being student government president. I appreciate being the president of the Honor Society, graduating magna cum laude. I appreciate, being the president of my fraternity. All of those types of things that
At
were
what school? At what school was that,
shaped us.
doctor? At what school? At what school? Say it one more time.
Yeah, right. Clark Atlanta University.
Thank you,
So,
doctor.
in that shaping, entrepreneurship is our future. And when we think about what Tommy Dortch just said, this is a time for innovation. So manufacturing that used to be is not dead anymore, because we're not going to be shipping overseas as much. Everything will be more localized, will be more. So this is a new opportunity for manufacturing to reinvent itself, to have digital manufacturing, to have logistics, where you got conglomerates of barbershops and beauty salons now working together with a logistics hub behind it. You got restaurants and you got storefronts where those doors were shut totally due to the pandemic. But now they've reinvented themselves to say, you know what, we're going to have an app for digital carryout. We're going to have meal prep and a logistics center behind it. There are so many new ways that we have to move forward, and only the next generation really understands that. And so as we look at business and we think about where the future is, if you're not trafficking e-commerce and digital services, you won't be in business, flat out. Business is going to be remote by default. So that day and age of the old way, everybody got to come to the office, put in 100 hours of work, that day's a wrap, right? You can be remote, you can have a laptop, you can have what you need to be successful. And you can also have employees, not just here throughout the country, nationally, but also internationally. And so we got students now networking in Africa, the Caribbean, all throughout South America. And they're forming these businesses to move into the future. And then when you think about the automation of jobs, it's not about our jobs going to be automated. Automation is already here. And so if we don't have the back end technical expertise to be able to transition and understand automation, then that's also going to impact us in terms of what the future of entrepreneurial multi-millionaire businesses that will look like, especially in terms if you pull from Millionaire Moves in Dr. Pickard's book. But even more, when you think about medicine and the healthcare industry, which is going to have to be pulled apart totally, right? And you think about telemedicine, all types of multi-millionaires will come out of the healthcare industry. So we're looking for our Black colleges to be incubators for entrepreneurship. Matter of fact, HBCUs produce the most successful Black professionals in the world anyway. Why can we not produce the #1 entrepreneurial minds in the world? And that's where I think the future of HBCU should go. But even, you know, when we think about retail and we think about all these future industries, folks are looking at all these major chains closing. Retail will be 80% direct to consumer. The day and age of having a storefront and expecting people to walk through your doors. You look at Amazon, their CEO became the first trillionaire today, right? Everything is direct to consumer. So we have to model our businesses to have that technology advantage behind it. All traditional norms are being broken up. And just like I would end in this scenario, you know, we got to move away from personality-driven economics into institutional-driven economics, which means this is a collaborative environment. You should be forming networks. You should be joining the Atlanta Business League if you're in Atlanta, Georgia. You should be going on Clark Atlanta University's campus to take entrepreneurial courses. If you don't have your CPA mindset, if you don't have your legal expertise, if you don't have your marketing strategies with the MBA program, you need to be getting your mind sharp. And then last but not least, we got to release the imminent domain of colonization of our mind that we cannot do things ourselves. This is the time for the Black community to assert itself, and it needs to assert itself with real power, and that real power comes from economics and entrepreneurship, owning your own. I end it like this: the revolution will not be televised, it will be digitized.
Thank you so much for that. Moving forward, we have so many questions rolling in. It's actually amazing. And this one in particular is from Binley Jean, who says, hello, thanks for putting this together. My question to the panel is, for investors interested in purchasing a company, how do you see COVID-19 impacting business valuations across the board? Please weigh in on your individual industries. Thank you.
It's America on sale. I said earlier, it's horrible for the seller and great for the buyer. So if you are selling anything right now, you're selling it into a buyer's market, and you're going to have to discount that in most industries. If you're the owner of Zoom, maybe not. Okay. But most industries, you're selling into a buyer's market. I'll give you an example. I'm in real estate in another part of my life, and I'm the largest minority owner of single family homes in America. All of my peers were petrified when this whole COVID thing hit. They've got higher price rents, $4,000, $5,000 a month in rent, and they're renting at $5,000 a month. Yeah, they should be concerned. But my tenants, my residents, are paying $1,000 to $1,200 a month in rent. And I decided that wasn't a negative. I decided if I have a single family home with a front yard and a backyard that's detached, you know where I can get new tenants from, get my occupancy up? Apartment buildings. So I told my team, start marketing to those who live in apartment buildings who are paying $1,000 to $1,400 a month for a smaller unit with people on top of them, left, right, and below them. And they touching the same elevator button. They go in the same parking structure. It's a social distancing catastrophe for a lot of our low income working class families. My occupancy went up 2 points from 91.5 to almost 94 in a month in the middle of COVID-19. And I'm now looking to buy other real estate companies in the middle of COVID-19. And I'm gonna buy them at a discount. So I've got Deutsche Bank in New York City looking at basically how can the tail wag the dog? How can a company as small as mine at 100 million buy a company that may be as large as 800 million? No, there's no time. That conversation would have been laughed at. Bill, what, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a financier would have laughed at somebody with $100 million portfolio trying to buy a company 8 times their size. Is that right, Bill?
Right.
So I think that this just underscores again, the whole game has changed and we have got to change with it. Not everybody's going to go buy a division of a major company, but you should think about it. In fact, you just got a building fund. You know, the church building fund. Make that real, actually, and go buy your block. At least go buy your block, because you're going to have foreclosures in your neighborhood. Raise a few bucks, get somebody with a decent credit score. You know, I'm sorry, actually rephrase that. Let a separate corporation do this. Stop, reverse that all together. Do an LLC and let the church go buy homes that are in foreclosure and do rent to own, or buy, rent, and rehab and hold. It's just going to go up in value. I mean, we can do this on and on and on. There is a gold mine before COVID-19 between Midtown Atlanta and the airport. Everybody said, "Oh, air travel is going away forever." That's not true. They said the same thing after 9/11. Americans have a legendary ADD problem. We have short attention spans, and within 18 months, you're going to be packed again doing full-on travel. So all this property between here and the airport is a gold mine. I mean, I'm going to stop, but this is the opportunities are literally everywhere.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bryant. And this question kind of goes into that, in the sense of, with this being an uncertain time, with the game changing, there are certain things that, you know, stay constant, and people are trying to hold on to those things, especially within the business sector. And so this question is from Kevin Hicks, and it's directed specifically at Dr. Pickard, but I want to further open it up to the whole panel, because I feel like everyone would have very valuable information to add to it. The question centers around if you all can talk to the importance of leveraging your relationships to thrive in business, specifically in times such as these, but also just more generally, what is the importance of leveraging relationships to thrive in business?
I would like Dr. Pickard to respond to that, because the first time I heard him speak, he talked about the value of relationships, that he would prefer to have 100 solid relationships than $1 million or something of that nature. So Dr. Pickard, would you talk about that?
Yes. Oftentimes I would ask my students, which would you rather have, $1 million in cash or $1 million relationship? And of course, unfortunately, most people think it's $1 million in cash, but unfortunately, it is about relationships. I mean, if you know Tommy Dortch, you probably got $1 million relationship right away. If you know Bryant, you got another $1 million. But seriously, relationships are critical. And we talked earlier when we were just sitting around chatting, out of this crisis will come hundreds and thousands of opportunities. Now, who get the A opportunities and who get the C opportunities is oftentimes related to relationships.
That's right.
If you get into the bankruptcy court, of course, that's all about relationship. Who finds out about the $1,000 deals and who finds out about the $1 million deals? That is indeed relationships. So this is a plug for my book, which is entitled Millionaire Moves. And we talk about the 7 proven principles of relationship, of entrepreneurship. And number 5 is relationships. You know, we oftentimes say, if you don't network, you might not work. And that's a part of the relationship syndrome. But I think someone said something earlier, I want to go back and hit on again. And that is the most important investment you can make is probably the investment of your own self-development.
That's correct.
And I would argue that relationships are part of your development, because you cannot live and you cannot thrive by being a self-contained person. You gotta have an ecosystem of people and relationships. So I would say that is critical to your success individually and collectively, relationships.
And let me kind of weigh in too. About 28 years ago, I started doing these seminars and forums for the U.S. Department of Energy and several federal agencies and for the private sector. My good friend George Frazier took my what I had coined as my seminars that I did then, called Contacts to Contracts.
Really?
And yeah, that I did that for 28 years. It's documented in speeches and everything. And of course, Leona knows I used to do those for Atlanta Business League. So,
Absolutely.
but you know, but if people find something good that works for them, I don't have a problem. For example, Susan Taylor started Party with a Purpose, but my good friend Tom Joyner went out and did a intellectual properties protection on Party with a Purpose. That used to be part of the piece that they did with their music festival. But anyway, I started Contacts to Contracts 28 years ago. But the bottom line, the premise is who you know will get you in the door. What you know will keep you in the house. So you can have relationships and contacts, but eventually you got to show you got the wherewithal to stay there. But it is very important, as Bill just said, having relationships. Right now, I don't advertise. In all of my businesses, I advertise by doing great work, by delivering, you under promise and over deliver, but the key is how you deliver. And so those relationships tell others about you, and so the business keeps coming. So that's critical and important. And for me, my contacts and my relationships are just as valuable. And I actually make money in my consulting firms by connecting people through my relationships. So that's very key and very important. That's why, to young professionals, volunteering is critical. You got to understand, one, in dealing with these, I have to tell folks say, well, I called you, and they get angry. And I've had a few folks I had to straighten out in groups to say, well, I called you and you didn't call me back. Well, my point was, if it was important enough to you, you should have kept calling until you got me, because people have to understand busy people are busy. And so it's not that we don't want to help you or we're not interested. It's that, some people are paying for that advice. I'll give it free. I still do it. To those who join the Atlanta Business League, they get my services free. If Leona calls, being the national chairman of the board for the National Business League, if you say I need you to do it, I'll do it free. But and that's important, because I'll give you one example and we'll move on, is that the former Secretary HUD, who is now the governor of New York, was a very close friend of mine. And I had a Black female who paid a white firm thousands of dollars, and the best she got was to the regional administrator's office of HUD. Someone told her she should talk to me. She retained my company. Within a week, I had her in Washington, sitting in the office with the Secretary of HUD. And from there, the secretary said, okay, he called in his key people, told her to go sit with them. And me and Cuomo sat in his office talking about gadgets. We love gadgets. And we spent time just talking about gadgets in his office. And before we left, he said, Tommy, as soon as my undersecretary is confirmed, we'll work with her. If you say she's a great person, and I vouched for her. But now, within 2 weeks, she called and said, well, you haven't gotten me my contract. I'm not going to pay you. And she had paid this guy for a whole year, and she saw the regional administrator. But the point is, when we have these contacts, we're willing to share them. When we have the relationships, but people have to understand you got to give. And the only thing I say when I do that is that you got to pass it on. You got to help somebody else. It's back to the concept of pigs get fat, the hogs get slaughtered. And so that's why we have to keep doing these. So when Leona calls, we know Leona's helping people. That's right. So we don't hesitate to go there. Bill called me, you talk about relationships. Bill, you remember a few years ago, Bill called me and said, look, TD, we're going to go in the mattress business. I said, Bill, what do we know about mattresses? He said, we sleep on them. but because of his relationship with one of the largest mattress manufacturing companies in Chicago, we went into the business. It was about relationships. It's about friendships. And some people will pay and some people want you to play. And I've had people to come to me and want to use my name, and they put me in ownership of their companies, and we've made about $100 million together, and they didn't want a penny from me. But sometimes you got to know when to move. Right now, to those listening, I'm about to acquire a part ownership in a fund development technology company. I was so impressed with the young brother who came to me, and we kept talking. He was referred to me by another great friend of mine, who's a mentee of mine. And so I'm in the process of acquiring a part of his company right now, helping him to move. And I was impressed. So all I say to those looking to do business, work together. All my children have started an investment club. They're doing their thing. I told them, look, I'm gonna put some money in. My wife has already put money in it. I'm not worried about it. But the key is you have resources right around you. When the economy went down before, I bought stock in Delta, and I bought stock in General Motors and all of those because it was a bargain. And I never even looked back to see what the stock was doing. But all I can say to those who are listening, there are opportunities. You have to create those opportunities. But when Black folks stop being afraid to do business with each other, that's when you can get moving. Now, I've had some bad partners who were Black. I've had some great partners who are African-American and Black. I've had some great partners who are white, and I've had some bad partners who are white. But I bought them out. You know, in every case, I bought them out. I gave them option. You can buy me out or I'm buying you out, but we won't be in business together. Mm-hmm. And so with that, folks, you learn. And some of my worst investments have been with family, and some of the best investments with family. So you learn as you go, but if you don't take risk out here, you won't make it in this world. It's not about putting money in and expecting to get paid back tomorrow and profit. It's about having the courage and having the wherewithal to stand and weather the storm. And then what Dr. French knows, you know, it's about investing in our institutions. Leona and I are talking about partnerships with Clark Atlanta University, one of the best schools of business in the nation, and we're getting back there. And so we got to work now in partnerships with CAU and with Atlanta Business League and other organizations to now prepare, because businesses are going to be hurting more than ever before when we get out of COVID-19. I just wanted to throw that in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Dortch. The questions are continuing to roll in. We have Ms. Kimberly Hoyle, who wants to know that if you all see any business opportunities in the staff augmentation space, so primarily call centers, etc. Historically, companies have sought offshore talent due to lower wages. But with COVID, do you think those opportunities will come back onshore?
Yes. By the way, Kimberly Hall is brilliant. She's in Detroit. I think it's either Detroit or Chicago. I think it's Detroit. No, it's Detroit. She's really smart, and she should go do this herself. But she should partner with, call my friend Janice Bryan Howroyd, which is the second largest Black-owned business in America, Act One, and propose a joint venture. You're going to have call center opportunities in the U.S. You're going to have qualified opportunity zones in urban neighborhoods combined with Community Reinvestment Act incentives, so that's getting modernized. All this is going to, there's going to be a lot of pressure to get jobs in underserved neighborhoods to us. And if you do this right, you can do a call center in an underserved neighborhood and undercut the foreign contract price by up to 50%. So you're saving money for corporations, doing the right thing and checking all the boxes. That may not exactly be what she was talking about, but the point is, it's going to be a huge opportunity if you do this smartly. Let me just very quickly just say, I was thinking about what Pickard was thinking about relationship capital and what Tommy Dortch was saying. And I too have a book coming out later this year called Up From Nothing, which really deals with this whole topic. But I was sitting here, you know, got two notes. Susan Taylor, we just mentioned, her CARE network, two of her CARE representatives, we got PPP loans for while we're sitting here. Then I just got a note that this interesting person who is a reality star in Atlanta, I'm catching myself, this fool who's embarrassed all of us took out a $2.7 million PPP loan just got arrested for bank fraud
Jewelry.
because this fool took $1.5 million of it and bought jewelry, leased a 2019 Rolls Royce. I mean, the list of stupid things that he did is undeniably bad. But he did
He
it
should go to
in
jail.
COVID-19, robbing legitimate small business owners, robbing members of Leona's ABL and Dr. Harris's organization of legitimate money and allocation they could have to do something. We need to call stupid stuff like this out and say no mas. Enough already. Leona asked me at the end of her session, what advice do you have for our members? Stop the dumb stuff. Like, let's just, there's an end of the story. Can we please start there? Like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Why do we excuse this stuff? Why do we call the racists out? We don't call this crap out. It's just wrong and it's stupid. I discriminate against stupid and dumb people. I'm working on it.
I agree with you, John, absolutely. And going back to the question about the call centers, I would recommend to Kimberly that she reach out to Mark Wilson. Mark Wilson is now running, has opened his second call center. The first one he sold for millions of dollars after 10 years of existence. But he has really set the standard for call centers, I think, not only in Atlanta, but across the country. So in answer to your question, yes, there are opportunities. There will be opportunities. And if you'd like to speak with Mark, call the Atlanta Business League and I will put you two together because it is definitely a great opportunity. Don't wait, start now.
Well, folks, we are closing in on the end of this session. I want to take the time to first ask our panelists if y'all have any last words that you want to make sure that this audience and that this group of people leave with. If you have anything to say, this is your time.
Pickard should say it because he's funny.
Repeat that, sir.
Pickard should say the last words.
I am a social worker. I am a social worker. I'm not a comedian. But I will say this. Our community needs more people to work for themselves and take a chance. Our community needs more of us to get together to scale up so we can create jobs and opportunities for people in our community. I think Tommy said something earlier. We must get away from this phobia that we can't work together. Every company I own, I do not own 100%. Most of them I own 51, but I have partners everywhere I go. So I think this is a magic moment for Black America again. And I hope and pray we don't sit here and just moan about the bad things and we take advantage of a lot of the good things that are happening around us. And I am a strong believer that HBCUs can be a critical component of that. And I must tell you, Dr. French and Tommy and everybody else here, I'm thinking about my next venture in manufacturing, trying to locate it on an HBCU campus to take advantage of all the opportunities that could flow from that kind of relationship, especially in key states where the Republicans might be in charge of that state. There are a lot of opportunities that can flow out of that kind of relationship.
That's right.
Definitely.
I
want to make sure well, go ahead. I want to thank our corporate partners, but go ahead.
No, I just wanted to, everything that we've talked about tonight has been about business and finance. But I want to make sure to remind everyone, answer the census the survey. Please respond to the census survey. Become a part of the political process, because those two areas, if you ask any person that's on this call, is what has helped each of them, each of the persons here and their organizations to move to the next level. So don't forget those two: voting, responding to the census. That, along with your relationships, will actually move you to the next level. Mr. Dortch?
Great point. I want to make sure we thank our corporate partners, but you're right on that, Leona. So make sure on the census you're there. People are saying we need to get people registered. Our problem is we got to get those registered to turn out and vote.
Exactly.
And just think about it. Atlanta only had 25% of its eligible registered voters to vote in the last mayor's election. And fortunately, we got Keisha Lance Bottoms as our mayor, and she's doing a great job now. When you think about it, Stacey Abrams just missed being governor of Georgia. And we had only about 49% of the eligible Black voters to turn out in that election. And when you look at what's going on nationally, we voted almost 50% of the eligible voters who were African-American did not even vote in the last presidential election. And I say to people, this is not about Republican or Democrat, it's about good people who represent us. While I've been a lifelong Democrat, my good friend Bill Picard has been a lifelong Republican, but you know what? Bill and I understand.
Colored Republican.
Colored Republican. But the thing though with Bill and I, we come from the cloth where we got to be at the table. But when it comes to our people, there is never a time when I go to Bill or Bill comes to me, never a time when it's not about our people, about Black folks, and about making a difference. We have to be in the system. But what we've got to do is know to select the right kind of people in office, because all people Black ain't for us, and all people white aren't against us. So that's critical as we move into this election. And this is one of the most critical elections, because had it not been for President Obama, when we had the significant downturn in our economy, it took him 8 years to bring us back to where we should have been. And now when we look at how we're going to be faced with one of the toughest economic challenges of our time from this COVID-19, we've got to make sure when we move, we got to have people who understand government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and not some of the people. And so it's an easy choice. For the young people say that, well, Bernie Sanders didn't win, I'm not gonna vote. Well, in this case, you got two choices. You're either gonna be for Donald Trump or you're gonna be for Biden. If you say I'm not voting, then that means you're voting for Donald Trump. So all I gotta say to folks, when people didn't go out and vote in the last election, you see where you've been now 4 years from support in our communities. So people, if you don't vote, you don't count. Make your choices, vote for who you want. But if you don't vote, then those who sacrificed and gave their lives did it in vain. So I want to thank Wells Fargo for being a corporate partner, presenting sponsor. Want to thank again Curly Dossman and Georgia Pacific for their support. And we want to thank Merck for their support as partners to make sure that we do these kinds of things that we're able to do in these webinars and where we go. So with that, I want to thank all of you. I turn it back over to our phenomenal moderator who is about to leave the Spelman College, going out into the world. She may be leaving the campus, but she'll never leave our community and never leave Black colleges. So with that, let me just say thank you for being the hostess and the moderator, the mostest. Let me turn it back over to our moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dortch. It was an absolute honor to moderate this panel. I don't know about everyone else on, but I know I definitely left with some gems that I will definitely be applying to my life. And if you just want a real quick overview, we talked about the importance of social capital, the importance of financial literacy, the importance of investing in yourself, and above all, the importance on expounding on opportunities as they are presented. And that transcends COVID when it comes to business and finance. So thank you all again. Thank you for all the attendees. Make sure to look for the survey that will follow this panel. We want your feedback. We want to know how we can improve these sessions going forward. Every time we want more people watching, and we want to help even more people. Our next virtual session will be Thursday, May 28th at 6 p.m. right here via Zoom. And we want to thank all of the amazing panelists. Make sure to check out the website for more information. Follow us on all social media platforms. We are NCBA Hall of Fame, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything. So just that's our handle on everything, as well as if you have any other questions that we didn't get to, because I assure you panelists, there were so many questions. Make sure to email info at nbcaof.org. And for you tonight, thank you again to everyone. This has been a very successful panel, and I'm looking forward to our next session together. Everyone have a great night. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.